So I told y'all that I was gonna make a video later about Klairmont Kollections closing down and the history of it, and kind of a trip of my memory lane of the cars that I get to experience and the cars that honestly paved the road for the automotive industry today. So let's get right into it. But first, we gotta talk about the man who created it all, which is Larry Claremont. Now, Larry Claremont was born in 1926 in Chicago, Illinois, where I'm from, and his first car was actually a Mopar. Thank the Lord. It was a 1935 Plymouth. And the legacy.com website, which is where I got my sources from, I'll put a link in the description below, didn't specify if it was a coupe or a sedan. But we can most likely specify that it was a sedan because it says he didn't have a lot of money at that time and he grew up into poverty. So with that Plymouth sedan, it only went about 35 miles per hour, and which in turn is a tractor if you think about it. But it got him from point A to point B, and this era all before the Hellcats and stuff like that. So um, if y'all are thinking that you need a fast car for your first car, well, think again, because this guy couldn't even do the speed limit. So yeah, there's that. Now his second car was actually a 1951 Rolls Royce, and this is back when those cars were actually fairly easy to come by if you're working at a shop. You see, across America, there were shops that were servicing the Rolls Royces that were from England, and people would actually get to drive them, believe it or not. And Mr. Claremont was one of them. While I didn't specify that he worked at a shop, he most certainly owned one, and it would later become worth $300,000 in today's money after he fully restored it, because the car didn't even have AC or heat, but he still loved it. And then by 1974, he would add cars like the Lincoln Continental from 1946 and even Rolls Royces from the 1930s that are unspeakable prices and priceless cars in his stock, and eventually becoming his museum. But those were keepsake cars. Unfortunately, Mr. Claremont did not start collecting cars until he was age 80, ultimately opening his museum in 2011 and then passing away in 2021 at the age of 94, having collected 319 cars in total, and today that's about 275 cars. Here are some of the cars I got to sat in and learned about. And first up, we have the 1954 Mercedes 300 SL, or better known as the Gold Wing. Now, this chassis code is called the W198, or some cars even have the W195 chassis code, similar to the W221 Mercedes S classes that you see today. And I've gotten a chance to sit in this car, and let me tell you, it is tight as hell in there. Let's just say you can't be Dwayne The Rock Johnson or John Cena in this thing, but a 5'10" male can have a great time in this. Also, there were about 10 cars built like this, and with a two-frame chassis. And what's crazy is, guys, this is about 7 years after the war, so this is absolutely insane for them to go right back into racing, especially when Europe needed money heavily. Meanwhile, us Americans were flush in cash after the war. So shout out to Mercedes for even making this car, man. Because this was totally separate from the production team. This is not from the Mercedes production or nothing. This is a completely different company. The chief engineer of this car is going to be Rudolf Unhaut. And, this is exactly why I believe why car companies do best when the engineers are on top. Because let's keep it real, right? We saw in the 50s or 60s how Chrysler was doing, and they was doing amazing. But you get to the mid 70s and 80s, man, they was getting people from McDonald's in the car companies, man. I mean, that's why all the cars look boxy as hell and econ boxes. That's why they all got low horsepower and big V8s but low horsepower. I mean, they were just not the status symbol as they was before. This is the mistake I think we as America made in the 70s and 80s. Meanwhile, Uhlenhaut in Germany was setting track records every weekend in Germany with his Goldwing as 300 SL. And thank you God that in GM at least, we're at Nürburgring every weekend with the Corvettes and the Cadillacs and stuff with Royce at GM. This is a 3.2-liter tilted inline six with magnesium valve covers, pumping out about 170 horsepower and 225 torque. This was the first ever fuel injected car. This right here is a 1949 Bentley Special 8-liter. Now, this is not an actual 1949 car, but it's based off the 1930 Bentley 8-liter because Bentley stopped making the 8 liters around the mid 30s. And this car is an exact copy of that year. Now, these Bentleys, they're really something. W.O. Bentley, he didn't believe in turbocharging or supercharging. He just went old school and said, the bigger the better. Go big or go home. That's his motto. That's the engine. And that's why 8 liters in 1930 is absolutely insane. But it is. The company Bugatti literally made fun of his cars for being like trucks. And there was truck-like. I mean, these had big leaf springs and big valves and big bushings. You know, these made about 165 horsepower. However, around 300 torque. These were no light cars. These were about 5,000 pounds, even for the light models. These cars had no distributors. Instead, you had a magneto, which is basically an electrical system of different charging points with a rotating magnet to ignite the fuel in the ignition system. Up next is a 1972 Dodge Charger Rally. And oh boy, this is exactly my lane right here. This is all me. Classic Mopar no car. This has the 400 V8, but you can also get the 440, which I prefer better. Because people associated with them 400 V8s being with them RV motors. The only other high impact colors were top banana and Hemi orange. This one has a 355 rear end with power disc brakes. And now here's a little montage of all the other classic cars I got to experience, and honestly were just absolutely gorgeous. Hope you guys like it, and peace out. See you tomorrow.
What's the name of this car? 37 Rolls. 37 Rolls Royce? You so geek, you